This is today's quadratic equation which we must solve. X squared plus 2x plus 13 is equal to 0. Now, just by looking at this equation, it doesn't seem like it can be factored pretty easily. It doesn't look like it will be factored nicely at all. So what's our next step? Well, if factoring doesn't work, your next method of attack that you should be thinking of is completing the square. And as you can see, we weren't told to complete the square because you won't always be told to complete the square. Sometimes you just have to know that that is what you may have to do. So a little bit different today. I didn't say to solve this equation by completing the square, but that's the thought process. If it can't be factored easily, try completing the square. So let's go ahead. So we'll take this equation and we move this constant to the other side. I'm just going to move this down a little so I give myself more space. So I've just moved that 13 over to the right side. X squared plus 2x is equal to negative 13. Let's complete the square because the coefficient of x squared just happens to be 1. Pretty nice for us. So we know we're going to be adding something to both sides. What constant are we going to be adding? I'm going to give you a second to think about that. But if you said 2 divided by 2 squared, you would be correct. And we get this by taking the coefficient of the x term, which is 2. We divide that by 2. Don't forget, divide by 2, and then we square the whole thing. So, wow, a lot of 2's today. Must be a Tuesday. I don't get paid to write this show. 2 over 2 squared. So the left side becomes x squared plus 2x plus, well, that constant we added, 2 over 2 is 1. 1 squared, that's still 1, and we added it to both sides. So negative 13 plus 1 is the same as negative 12. Interesting. So left side becomes x plus 1 squared. Right side is negative 12. So we're taking the square root of a negative number. That sounds like we have some imaginary numbers going on here. There's an imaginary portion to this answer, so if you're feeling a little rusty on complex numbers and imaginary numbers, that is definitely something you should review before watching this, because I'm assuming you're very comfortable with taking square roots of negative numbers, which is why I gave this as an example. So remember, there's two possible answers, a plus and a minus, and we're taking the square root of negative 12. And if you remember how to do this, it ends up being plus or minus 2i times root 3. Again, if you're looking at this and wondering what the heck is this, what is this I? How did we get that? Again, just review complex numbers, which I will be making a video on soon. Okay, from here we get our final answer by isolating for the variable. X is equal to minus 1 plus or minus 2i root 3. So what was the lesson today? Well, I would argue a few lessons today. First, even if you're not told to complete the square, sometimes you just have to figure it out yourself. And another lesson is that complex numbers are totally valid. So even if you have an imaginary portion in your answer, you can still find the solutions by completing the square. And that's another reason why completing the square is so useful. Because imagine trying to guess, it was already hard enough just guessing real numbers that happen to not be nice. Now imagine trying to guess this on a test. That is basically impossible. You're not going to get it unless you complete the square and find it the proper way. So again, complex numbers, totally valid, and I think this was a very good example in showing us that.